Welcome to another episode of Riding and Wrenching, the biggest little YouTube channel on the entire interwebs. I am your host, Q the Rider, and in this episode I am going to show the complete installation of the sound system that's on my 2018 Harley Davidson Road Glide Ultra. I traveled from Memphis, Tennessee all the way to Knoxville, or just outside of Knoxville, to work with Jay from Volunteer Audio, and we got it all installed. And the whole process took about 4 hours, but I've shrunk this video down to about 2 hours, but it still covers the entire installation process. In the description of this video, I have broken down each step along the way along with the timestamps so that you can go directly to the part that you want to see if you don't need to watch the whole video. So as an example, if you just want to watch the part on cutting the saddlebag speakers, which was not hard. It was a little scary for me because I'd never done it before, but it's not hard and it's definitely something that you can do at home. Installing the head unit, the amplifier, and all of the speakers. It's a great project. It's definitely something you could do at home with basic hand tools, as you will see in this video. Now, if you just want to see a review of the system and how it performs, I will post a link right here so that you can watch a shorter, more condensed video. Now, I also want to thank Motorcycle Audio for providing all the equipment. They are the providers or the manufacturers of the Soundstream head unit and the precision power speakers and amp that's in the bike. So I just want to thank those guys for providing the sound system. Now, I will also tell you that having installed this system on this bike, I don't want to ride my other motorcycle because it sounds amazing. That is not an exaggeration. I absolutely love it. And when I get on my street glide that just has the Boom GTS with 2 speakers, it's not the same. This thing is incredible. But this is a fun project. Again, it's something you could do yourself, and it's a great way to save some money. So let's get into the video.
Q. C-U-E. So when you said that before, I was like, how do you spell Q? I was wondering, I was thinking, is it
people
Q?
do.
I thought it was
the letter Q.
Is it just a Q?
Yeah.
Is it, yeah.
Well, think of it as
How did you
cue
come
ball.
up with that? How did you come up with that?
I'm a pool player.
Okay.
Right. So when I started riding motorcycles, too loud?
Oh, yeah. He's a pool player, too.
Okay. So I'm a pool player. And so when I started riding, the guys I was riding with, I beat the crap out of them, you know, in pool. And, oh, man, we're going to start calling you Q, because first I thought they were talking about my bald head. And I'm like, well, okay.
Well, if it was fun.
Welcome to another episode of Riding and Wrenching. I am your host, Q the Rider, and I am here at Volunteer Audio. I'm here with my man Jay, and we're going to do an upgrade on my bike today. We're going to upgrade the head unit. We're going to pull out this crappy stock Harley unit. We're going to replace the speakers. I'm sorry, I said we. I am going to do all of this because that's what I do here on Riding and Wrenching. I'm going to show you how you can upgrade the audio system on your bike yourself and save some money.
All right, you want to know what we're doing on it?
Yes, please.
Okay,
tell.
so we're going to use the Soundstream Reserve HD-HU14 radio. So it looks like a factory GTS radio, but it's complete plug and play in any of your 14 and newer Harleys. It's going to add Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's going to give us a really nice EQ. No need to flash anything to upgrade your audio system when replacing the radio. It uses the factory USB port, the factory antenna, so everything's truly plug and play. We're going to add some power because I know right now you probably can hear it a little while riding, but we're going to make it loud and clear, 85 mile an hour plus. To do that, we're going to put an 800 watt precision power plug and play amp. This is going to make it where it is attainable for somebody with very minimal experience to do this themselves. You're not going to have to set any gains. You're not going to have to do any wiring. We're just going to show you how to physically take it apart, route everything, and plug it in where it goes. But we got to have some good speakers too. So precision power 6.5-inch speakers going front and rear in the Tourpack and the front. But we're going to add a little bit of bass by adding some 6x9s to the lid. So we're going to walk through the cut process, modifying this, making it have a CVO style look on the lid, and put some new 6x9s in it to give a little bit more low end.
Are these just basic tools that most people might have in the garage that we're going to use?
We're going to use hand tools. So we're going to use some Torx drivers. I know we're going to use a 13 millimeter, taking the gas tank off. Okay. The only part that might be a little specialty will be the saw, or however you decide to cut the lids. There's many ways to do it. I've done it with a jigsaw. We're going to use a one-handed sawzall. Okay. Just for, it's got a little, like the blade on it is like out of a jigsaw. Okay. So it's going to make it easy for us to kind of scroll cut around the shape we need to do. Awesome. But I think these are very basic tools that most people would have. And if you don't, you could do this whole system and not cut 6x9s in with just very basic hand tools.
Excellent. All right, let's do it. This is, if I order this from you online, this is what you would ship me, everything that's here.
Yeah, we're going to ship everything necessary, all the way down to the additional harnesses that might be needed, such as backbone harnesses, quick disconnect harnesses.
Okay.
But not only are you going to get everything, we go a few steps forward. Like if you bought this from other people that sold Precision Power, for instance, because we're not the only dealer in the country, they're going to send you an amp, and they're going to send you a box with some parts.
Okay.
You're going to have to figure out where everything plugs in. You're going to figure out how to mount it.
Okay.
We go all the way down to measuring out exactly where the Road Glide amp plate goes on. It's pre-attached, ready to go in. Every amp gain setting, every crossover setting is preset, and everything's plugged in where it goes.
All right.
I don't want you to have to think at all. Just if you can bolt it in, it's going to work, and we're going to have repeatedly really great results. If I send you a box of parts and hope you get it together right, we don't know what the end result's going to be like.
Gotcha.
So.
First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and remove the 4 screws in here holding the windshield on.
Let me grab the windshield. I can be of some assistance.
All right, the next thing I'm going to do is remove the speaker grills to get those off, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Now, the reason we're removing the speaker grills are there's 2 additional Torx bolts under here you got to access.
Right.
All right, so at this point, I'd go ahead and remove this.
Okay.
So, yeah, you can do it by hand. If you will pry under here, it'll pull off together in one piece. And we do see quite often this is the case, that they're in 2 pieces already.
Okay.
But just makes it where you just have that one movement.
All right, now I need...
All right, so that's a T30. We normally use a T25 because they're not that tight. Here's a T25. It also is the same size as the 2 lower bolts we're going to have to do on the bottom of the interfering. So I'd leave one of those in till you get the 2 bottom ones done, because when you're on this side holding it, you can't reach the bottom ones.
Gotcha.
So we normally do those last. That way we don't have the risk of dropping the fairing. We're going to go ahead and unplug each one of your lights.
Okay.
We'll plug those back in here in a little while. And you only remove the very bottom Torx screw on each side, even though there's 2. Only the bottom one holds the outer fairing in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the upper one just holds the little wind deflector.
Well, in that case, that one's missing anyway, so it's not a...
Sometimes that's the case.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah, remove the one on the other side, then the fairing should just slide forward. We're going to go ahead and unplug. I'm going to unplug the marker light on each side here.
Okay.
So just a real quick recap before I slide this off. We took off 2 Torx T25 screws from the very lower position on each side on the inner fairing. There was a T30 behind each speaker grill. There was also, on this case, we will need to undo, and we haven't done yet, the Allen heads on each side at our marker lights, as well as the windshield perimeter bolts. So those are a 5/16. It's going to be in the green Allen heads there, the one that looks like it's been used the most. Right in the middle. I'm sorry, 3/16.
3/16, so that's a little big.
Yeah.
Oh. It has been used.
It has been used a lot. So if you want to take that one out on the side. Now, quite often we see people have actually swapped the bolt that's holding the side marker light on. It's the same bolt thread that goes in, or pitch, that goes in at the speaker. And so you've got a chrome one and a black one. So if they have black side lights, a lot of times they've moved the black bolt to there.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
So
that's a good one.
nobody sees the one behind the speaker grill. So that is, should all be disconnected. Let's see if it slides out here. Did you remove the lower screw?
Oh, did I get it? Oh, I did not.
Yeah.
That would help.
It's going to be a Torx.
Oh,
So that's screwdriver there.
Oh, super. Okay.
Yeah, it's the very lowest screw. It's kind of confusing because you would think you take the next one up out.
Get them all.
That one's off, right?
Yep.
There we go. So we are disconnected on your fairing. I'm going to set it somewhere safe.
All right.
All right.
Well, so far so good.
Yeah, you got the fairing off.
All right.
I think the next step we're going to do is let's go ahead and we'll remove the headlight.
Okay.
And then we'll remove the radio.
Gotcha. They have names because all of them are memories.
Well, I definitely think you should ride your bike. Some of these bikes are absolutely perfect and have 0 miles on them.
Oh, no, this
and
one
that's a
gets
lot
ridden.
of expense. Don't save it for the next owner.
I got a buddy that has a 57 Chevy convertible, and it is amazing how beautiful it is, but he doesn't drive it. He's had it for probably a couple of decades and put about 12 or 13 miles on it, taking it on and off the trailer. And I told him that as soon as he dies, his kids are going on a ride and they're going to drink.
They're probably just going to sell it to somebody.
They're going to drink in his car.
There's going to be McDonald's French fries under the seat.
All over the place.
You want to pull that one connector off there? All right, now you can unplug your lights because you've got some added on lights.
I'm not going to do that.
Let's see.
What's the easiest way?
Just plug right here on each side of the top.
All right.
Yep, this isn't plugged in anything, so that one connection. All right, so the headlight is out of the way. All right, so if you had a 2-speaker bike and you didn't have a Tourpack, right up here where this connector is, there would be an additional connector with what we call a backbone harness connector. It's just the rear speaker output of the radio. It's a 4-pin black plug. Normally there's a block off in it, very similar to the WIM connector up here, how it's got a block off. So normally that is here, but when you have a Tourpack, you don't have that because there's factory rear speakers. There's also nowhere to really tie to those speakers for the lids. So if you let us know when you order your kit that you want to add lid speakers and you have a Tourpack, we add that backbone harness connector onto the amp.
Okay.
So we have a good place just to plug in our rear speaker wires to make it completely plug and play.
Okay.
All right, so next step, let's unplug the radio, unbolt the radio, and lift it out here.
Okay. Now, one thing that I like to do, or that I have done, so I haven't done this a lot, so I like to take pictures of where or how everything looks before you start disconnecting everything. I found them to be, they make them idiot-proof. They
only plug in one place.
They only go in one place, but still, there's a lot of things back here, and my memory's not that great. So take some pictures along the way.
So one thing to take into account, there's a GPS antenna on here. And if there was a Sirius XM antenna, those 2 antennas would not be used on this install.
Okay.
Because we're changing the radio, and it's going to use the GPS sensor inside your phone to do Apple Maps, Google Maps, and Waze. So there is no GPS in here.
Okay.
So when you remove the radio, go ahead and take that out because you're probably going to sell the radio. Most people do. And you'll need that to go with it.
Gotcha.
It also cleans up, makes it look a little better in here. And once we get the radio out, we will be transferring this bracket to our new radio.
Gotcha.
So each one of those connectors has a little place that you push. So for instance, on the USB, it's very easy to see. It's just got a connector right here on the top.
Okay.
And you can push that in and it's going to release it. The other 2 actually have one on the bottom side of them. So they're a little more difficult to disconnect, and we definitely don't want to break where it goes into the radio, where the next person that buys it from you is going to be upset. All right, so there's you got the little clip on the bottom of that.
Yep.
Now the radio connector is a little weird. So it is a kind of like a lever. So you push a little button in, and then you rotate. Once you've pushed in the little release, you rotate it, and it comes off.
Okay.
And it'll be the exact same connector on our amp because this thing is completely plug and play. So we use the same style connection.
Gotcha. All right, so there are 4 bolts. These 4 bolts here is the only one
Correct.
you take
Yeah,
off,
those
right?
4 all the holds the radio in.
All right.
I've always wanted to be the guy that holds the coffee cup and watches someone else work. Never normally gets
It's
to
a lot
happen
more
for
fun
me.
that
Never
way,
gets
isn't
to happen for me. No, really, I have a hard time watching someone else work.
Yeah.
I want to jump in. So we're going to reuse these 4 bolts when we put the new radio in.
Okay.
But inside the radio packaging comes 4 little oscillator bushings. You'll notice from the factory, each one of those bolts, when you pull it out, there's a little rubber, looks like a grommet down in there. And it just isolates the fact that we have an aluminum chassis on the radio and a stainless screw.
Okay.
And if they touch each other, they corrode.
Oh, okay.
So they put a little plastic bushing in there to keep those from touching.
I got it all the way out. Yeah. Wow, there we go.
Set it over to the side.
All right, so this is our stock unit. Now this radio is waterproof.
So I hate using the term waterproof because that means we
gotcha.
can put it in the bottom of the ocean.
Okay.
This is IPX6 marine rated.
Okay.
What that means is it will handle a jet spray test of low pressure to the face. That means do not pressure wash the face of the radio. You shouldn't do that with the factory radio.
Right.
IPX6 is the exact same rating as the GT and GTS radio though that Harley uses.
Okay. So I can wash my bike and I'm not going to damage the
Absolutely.
radio.
Don't pressure wash your gauges or your radio. Bad idea. But with a water hose, you won't have any problems.
Okay. Excellent.
So it is designed just like the original radio. It's the exact same size. And I want to say this because some people get a little confused at the end. We really pick over things when we've been working on them that we didn't pay attention to before. These factory fairings never fit the face of the radio perfect.
Okay.
And there's always some little gaps there. But this face is the exact size, the exact distance. Whatever gap was there factory is going to be there when you get done. You're going to be paying attention to it more because you just put a new radio in.
Gotcha.
It's plastic. It warps a little bit. But this is the same aluminum chassis like factory. It has the same threaded holes, so we can easily move over our upper mounting plate. The connections in the rear, it's the same exact connection for the power, same one for the USB, same one for the antenna.
Okay.
But it also adds RCA connections to add on amplifiers, as well as a microphone input if you want to add the microphone.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Can I hold it?
Yeah. One other
wow,
big
this
thing.
feels lighter.
Yeah, so we just talked about the screen kind of deteriorating on this. And I had a lot of people ask, do I need to put a screen protector on my new radio?
Okay.
So this was the old resistive touch screen, and it's actually 2 layers. So you have the touch panel, behind it you have the display.
Okay.
This new radio is like the GTS radio in the sense it has an optically bonded display. So the glass screen is glass. It's not a LCD panel with a protector in front. Because it is glass, there is no protector needed. You're not going to drop this on the ground like your phone.
Gotcha.
So no need in worrying about that. And it's going to continue to look like this years down the road without having this delamination that we see on this radio. You're just going to be taking these 2 bolts out and moving this plate here into the same holes.
And what's this frame? I mean, what's this piece for?
Okay, so this part snapped into it. That's what held this onto the bike.
Okay.
Without it, without it, the 4 screws would still hold it. But this is kind of loose in the front.
Gotcha.
Yep,
Okay.
we definitely want to put that back on.
All right. I'm still waiting for us to use the fun tools. When does the blowtorch come into this?
We are not going to have to do any wiring. So normally I would use it only for heat shrink.
Oh, man, we're taking all the fun out of this, man.
It's right here.
Oh, nice.
Fire it up if we need to, but I don't think we're going to need it on this one.
There we go.
All right, so that's swapped over. We're not going to put it back in yet because we're going to go ahead and remove the front speaker pods. It's not a hard task. We don't have to remove the pods to change the speakers, but it makes it much easier to get our amp in place with them out of there.
Okay.
You can do it without, but just for the sake of being able to see it better, we'll remove them. So we're going to remove the 3 3/16 Allen heads down the side of the pod, the 2 on the top, unplug it, and then set them off to the side.
Okay.
We're going to do this.
These 2 guys here?
Yep, those 2 there and the 3 down the side. We're going to do that on both sides.
Okay.
That's going to give us access to see where we're going to bolt our amp plate in.
Okay.
And while we have them off, we'll put the speakers in and then we'll bolt them back on. Yep.
All right. So
Yep,
one
those
here,
are the 3.
one here, one there.
I'll go and remove the GPS antenna off the top here while you're doing that. Set it to the side.
All right, now I'm going to remove the 2 screws on top.
I'm just here for moral support.
All right, so we'll go ahead and just unplug the speaker connector. kind of hid under there for me.
Oh, there it is.
All right, let's set that over there as well. We've got everything disassembled in the front. So I think the next step we need to go ahead and do though is let's go ahead and remove our gas tank, get the backbone harness exposed. That way we go ahead and pull our power and ground up to where the amp's gonna go.
Okay.
And then we can start hopefully going back together. So first step will be the seat. All right, so as far as let's talk about what there is to take the gas tank off. So this is a pretty simple thing. I'm sure you're going to see even more simple as you watch it. There's a little vent that's going to be pulled up from the side. There is a fuel return line on this side, and then there is a couple electrical connections that have to be unplugged. There's also a quick disconnect fuel line and a total of 4 13mm bolts. While you're here, I'm going to have you go and take the 2 out for the battery tray though, because we're going to do that next.
Okay.
It's the same tool. So while we're doing it, but there's 2 at the base of the gas tank, and there's 1 on each side up at the front. In this case, you've got some covers on it and some little vents, but I'll let you start taking it apart.
All right. Okay, I've got to get one of these.
Oh, yeah. You know, as you can tell from the wall behind, I do like Milwaukee tools, but that is what made me a believer in Milwaukee tools. Having an automotive shop, we use those day in and day out.
Oh, this is amazing. Is that it? Oh, a little bit more. All right, then we're gonna pull our vent tube out of the way. Oops, I'll beat up the new radio already. Good job. Those.
So, yeah, you can lift it up or you can plug it up.
Oh. So right now I'm on the right side of the bike. There's matching bolts, and they're kind of tucked in here right in between your tank and there's a little plastic windshield here, so doesn't seem to be enough room in there.
So let me just go ahead and remove this part real quick. Because if you notice, it does clip into place normally. Huh, yours was a little tighter than most, but yeah, there we go. So this simply just snaps around that bolt and around the bar. So that's going to give you a little bit more room. And if you'll just come straight up through here, you should be able to get it. You're not going to be exactly straight onto the bolt, but they're not normally so tight that you can't hit the button and take it out.
So this is our fuel line here that we're going to remove. There's a little sleeve, and there's a little sleeve, and so it's really easy to remove. Now, one thing to keep in mind removing your gas tank, it's best to have the least amount of gas in there as possible so the gas tank is not as heavy. But if you've got gas and it's not that big of a deal, you might just need some help getting it removed. And something else that you might want to do, just have a little rag nearby, because there might be just a tiny amount of fuel that's going to, that's going to spill. It's not a lot, so it's not really anything to worry about. Removing this gas line is not something to be fearful of. It's really simple.
So you lift up on the sleeve and then kind of wiggle the bottom connector. You may want to do this before we unbolt the gas tank next time.
It's a good idea to have the least amount of gas in here as possible. If you got a full tank of gas, it's going to be heavy, and I have no idea how much gas is in this tank, so I'm about to find out. Oh yeah, there's a lot of gas in there.
All right, so you just took the gas tank off. Yeah, it's about full of gas. I'm glad you had to lift that, not me. So the next step is we're going to take the cover off of the backbone. So factory, normally you're going to see either some zip ties around it, maybe some of this, we call it Tessa tape. That's the automotive grade tape securing it. This one appears like it's been off before because somebody's already done this, took it off. But keep in mind at the end that you put this piece back on. So many times this is missing. Because it's just not thought of. It's over on the counter, and the next day, oh, where'd that come from? So I got you a little screwdriver so you can unclip the plastic clips on each side.
Okay. And how do you just push them in like that?
So normally if I was going to use this little screwdriver, I'm going to go in next to it.
Okay.
And then I'm going to pry it.
Okay. All right. Actually, yeah, I'll try to get it on the other side.
So you could use a little larger screwdriver as well, but that one goes in beside it and just pries out a little bit. There's quite a few there in the front.
So we're just going to slide in here with a small screwdriver and pull it around.
And you got. I'm going to go ahead and remove this because we're going to need to anyways. Just slide this piece off. And then you've got some brake lines on this one. So if you have ABS in the back, there's going to be these brake lines up the side.
Okay.
Just slide those out to the side.
Okay. There we go.
All right, so now this will scare you to death. A whole bunch of wiring in here from the factory, but that is the correct place to run our wiring too. So now that we've got that exposed, we're going to run both a backbone harness. Now, if you were doing a 4-speaker system and you're not doing the lids, the rear speaker wire's already run. You don't have to run the backbone harness. If you only have fronts or you're adding lid speakers, you're going to be running this speaker wire new as well. All right, so this is the backbone harness we send out, and it is the Harley connectors already on it. They're already watertight. They're color coded to what we call EIA color code. That's the industry standard for aftermarket radios. So all the wires are marked so you know what they do. But we're going to fish one of these to the front, hook to the amp. We're also going to take our power and ground wire. Where did we lay it? It's right here. All right, so when we send it out, it's completely pre-wired. So you got power and ground, the correct length to go to the battery. You've got your fuse holder with your fuse in it. We have our amp turn-on wire, and this plugs into our amp. If you're going to run this up, though, to the front, it's going to be really hard to pull this fuse the other way. So we're going to take the smaller end, and we're going to fish it up just like the factory wiring. Now, most of the time, we end up on the left side of the bike, but in some cases, we see there's a lot more room on the right side. Either side's acceptable. So just look and see where you have the most room to fish the wiring up. That way, it's a little bit easier on you, and we'll start feeding that up through the front.
Okay, when you say feeding it up through the front, we're just going to go through.
So follow the original wiring.
Okay.
And I'll get up here in the front and try to see if I can't help a little bit as far as moving some things out of the way. The difficult part is normally being able to see what you're doing. So let me shine a light from this direction up through there for you. All right, so where this factory harness comes through, we're just going to follow it
through there. Okay.
through the neck. Yeah.
All right. Oh, there we go.
Now we have all the room in the world, right?
I don't see it. Wiggling around. Oh.
Did we lose it?
Yeah, it's a little dark in there. Oh, there it is.
There's light. Oh, I see it. It turned the wrong direction.
Oh, okay, there it is. Good Lord. There we go. Got it.
All right, you got it.
Woo.
All right. So also, we're going to run this backbone harness, but we need to make sure we run it the right direction because we don't want to do it twice. This isn't quite as big on the end, but this is the end that's going to plug in. Yep, so all we're going to do is we're just following that factory wiring right up through here. Oh, can you see it? We need to push it back and go more toward the middle, don't we?
Hold on. All right, push.
Yeah, I can push. Trying.
There you go. Oh, should go. Got it.
All right. So there's a little bitty blue wire. Go ahead and pull it up to the front too. See that? Yep.
All right, so these are the two wiring harnesses.
That's the wiring harnesses that are going to go
through.
to our amp. So let's come to the other side. We'll go ahead and mount the amplifier.
This is the amplifier that we're going to install, and this is the Precision Power amp. And so now when you ship this, it's going to come just like this?
Yeah, if it's on a road glide, it's going to come already on this plate. If it's a street glide, it'll come with an aluminum bracket that bolts on top of the radio, and it bolts right to that. Also, when it comes from us, you're going to see this sticker over all the adjustments because we've preset everything exactly where they need to go.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so we're going to slide it under. Oh, there's a...
Go ahead.
Oh, there is a, I don't know what you call it, but this lip, I guess, it slides on top of the mounting frame or something.
It just overlaps this bracket and sandwiches it in. It's the exact same design that the factory boom amplifier does on the same end.
Okay.
So we kind of copied the way Harley would have done it.
Okay.
Yep.
And this is our connector, and it goes directly into the back.
Like that. Now keep in mind there's a bunch of little cables here. We want to make sure none of them get caught up in this.
What are we going to do with this blue one?
This blue one will later plug up here at the top. So just leave it through. We'll reach through and put it where it goes. Yep. Another cable on the way there. All right, so now that that is there, you'll see there are 2 holes, one on each side, that these little bolts will line up with.
Okay.
So you've got an 8mm nut and bolt.
Oh, I see them. They're on the...
Yeah, you may have to just wiggle it around just a little bit to get it where it goes.
Okay. Which way do you go? This way or?
I don't think either way matters.
Okay.
Whichever one works better for you. You can imagine with the speaker pods in place, it'd be a lot harder to get to those 2 bolts.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'll let you.
Goodbye.
Every time you drop a nut, it rolls as far away as possible.
Well, my favorite one is where you drop it and then it finds the hidden place that you
didn't even know existed.
Unreachable by humans.
Normally it rolls under the counter to the far edge, right where the spider web and the dust is in the back, and I've got to lay under there and reach my hand into it and get it.
Oh, come on.
This just proves we're human. There we go. So once you get both of those in, I've got you an 8mm wrench here. I've got a ratcheting wrench and a stationary wrench. So. I don't know if it's going in the right direction or not. I guess you'll figure that out.
The right size.
Going the wrong way.
Oh,
Flip it over.
Ah, okay.
All right. All right. These wires always get right in the way. Just make sure it's as tight as you can get it by finger. It should work. All right, so a final step. So because we adhere the amp to the amp plate with this really large piece of Velcro, once it's in place, and I know it's in the right place because I put the plate on, exactly where we do this over and over.
Okay.
But if you didn't know where to go, you would want to wait till it was in and you've test fit everything. We're going to wrap a big zip tie around it, just as one more place, one more thing to make sure on a hot day, if the glue were to let go, I don't think it would, but just to make sure we don't want this amp bouncing around in here. Now, many, many times I'm doing an install and it's had the Rockford Fosgate uses a very similar bracket setup. And people just go, that's too hard. Okay. And they just stick the amp up in here. So many times I go to pull a bike apart and the amp is literally laying in this compartment.
Okay.
Because the headlight's got it in, the radio's got it in, they go, oh, it's good. It's not good. So we mount it to where everything is good and solid. Now at this point we want to grab our radio and we just want to test fit that the radio does clear our wiring, which it does. So it bolts right in. It cleared the wiring that we had in place. This is a protective screen. We just haven't pulled it off yet. So we'll also want to take our remote turn-on wire. So the little blue wire on the end of the amp, that is what tells the amplifier to turn on. This particular connector for the amp turn-on is actually designed that if you were to run it under here, it would plug right into this accessory connector, which is currently used for the cigarette lighter. But you can also go to the other side, and you'll see that there's another connector like this on this side as well. Let's see where it ended up in the middle of our taking our harness off.
It's gone.
Oh, you cut it off. Okay. So normally, when people haven't cut it off, there's a connector here that it would plug into. Now, the good thing is, in what we're doing today, we're using the Soundstream radio. So we have the new radio, and on our radio harness, when we plug it in, we have the mating connector that plugs in here. But if you had your factory radio in place, there are two of these, one on each side, and this simply plugs into the other one.
Okay. All right.
Now, if you ended up needing a second one, there are many, many companies that sell basically just a T. Plugs into the factory one, gives you 2 ports or 3 ports and so on. So we've got it designed, if you're using factory radio, plugs into the factory accessory port. If you're using our aftermarket radio, this radio can actually control the timing when the amp turns on and off. Gives us less likely to get a pop when it comes on or cuts off. So we're just going to route this around where later we can plug it into that harness. So all of that fits very, very nice. You don't want to forget on this particular install, and like I said earlier, if you had no Tourpack speakers, there would be this connector already in the fairing. It would be up here with this additional connector. It's the same look because we added the same connector to it. And we just want to connect those rear speakers. That backbone harness plugs in. So as you see, so far, you've not done any real wiring. We've just plugged things in. We've routed things. So next step, we're going to continue forward with the fairing install. So let's go ahead and swap our front speakers next.
All right, so I got 4 screws here that we're going to remove.
All right, so let's do a little comparison here. So here, so you kind of wonder why you can't hear it while you're going down the road. So the guys at Precision Power did an excellent job designing the speaker. So it's the exact diameter as the original one, as far as the mounting flange and the holes. But if you notice, Harley actually put a 5 1/4 inch speaker and used a 6 1/2 inch flange. So the speaker is actually substantially larger. Our tweeter is still completely waterproof. It's got this gasket around it, so water can't get through to the back of the speaker. We're using a neodymium magnet. So Harley used a neodymium magnet, but I want to show you something. This is a metal wall, and it won't even stick to the wall because the magnet is so weak. We do have a really strong neodymium magnet on the back of our new Precision Power speaker. And one other thing, because it's meant for Harley, they put the correct terminals on. You can't mess this up because your negative terminal is the bigger terminal, so the positive one won't go in the wrong place. So you can't mess this up. So it's really nice that they do that. It's idiot-proof on putting the speakers in. Also, there's no logo on the front, so we don't really have to worry about which direction we put it, which I like that too, because so many times you're on the counter and you're going, where did that logo need to go? But yeah, so we're going to reuse the original 4 screws, hook it up to the 2 terminals that they match. Make sure they fit tight. If they don't, we'll take a pair of pliers and we'll just crimp them just a little bit tighter.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, so your larger terminal in Harley audio is your negative. In almost every other audio instance, the big one's the positive.
Oh, really?
So it's a little different. Harley likes to keep us on our toes. Now I want to talk about one other thing while we're at this point. So inside the box, when you get your Precision Power speakers, it's going to come with a couple like crossovers. They call them tunes. When you plug this in, and it says to use it on 14 and up when you have a sealed pod, it's supposed to change it to make it sound better in the pod. Now, from my experience, I personally like the way it sounds better without it. So I wanted you to know, I didn't purpose. I didn't forget to install this.
Okay.
We purposely did not install it because we're using our amp and we've set all of our crossovers correctly in the amp. This is not going to be necessary.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make sure that I touched on that. Somebody's going to say, you forgot to install it. No, we didn't forget. We meant to not install it. Those terminals fit pretty tight.
Yeah. Yep. Maybe a little bit too tight. That's one down.
Because a lot of the Harley speaker brands that we sell, they don't come with grills. Precision Power not only has a really nice speaker at a really nice price point, instead of having to use that original grill, they send new Road Glide grills.
Oh, nice.
I think they're a better looking grill. Not only do they send you grills with their logos on it, but it comes with the gaskets installed, all the clips are installed, so it's as simple as just snapping it back in. Now, I know not everybody rides a Road Glide, right? Some people have Street Glides, some people have other bikes, but it comes also with the Street Glide grills.
Gotcha.
And it comes with our Tourpack grills, so we'll probably end up using these in the back on the Tourpack at the end. And then everything's going to match. Same mesh, same mesh. Our 6x9s use that same mesh. So everything has a really good, clean look.
It's gonna look like it belongs.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. This is amazing how different these are. Now, in this case, this is a little heavier. It's got a little bit more
Yeah,
weight to
yeah,
it,
it's
which
a
is
little
what
more.
you want. Yeah, that's amazing.
So neodymium magnets are very lightweight. If we
Okay.
compared them to strontium magnets, they're about a 40th of the weight to equal the same amount of magnetic power.
okay.
So even though it is heavier, it is super light compared to some of your cheaper speakers that use
I
the
see.
strontium
I see.
magnets.
Okay.
And we do that for handling because you don't want a lot of weight up high in the bike.
Right.
More weight we add, the worse it's going to handle.
Right.
A lot of the competition bikes that compete in these audio competitions, they've got so much weight on the bike, they're really not even rideable anymore.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. All right, so we're going to reinstall our speaker pods.
Yep.
And
I always start with the top two because
Okay.
once they're in place, everything else is
okay.
easy.
Gotcha.
So just start those and then kind of leave them loose till you get your other three in place. So. There we go. Can't fall anywhere. No.
all right, and did we already reattach the speaker wire?
Nope, we've not plugged it in yet.
Oh, okay.
But it's down here at the bottom and the connection is eluding us. There it is. I'll plug that back in. All right, we'll go to the next side. So you could be my satellite location in Memphis for
Hey, let's do it,
installations.
man. Well, you know what's going to happen? Well, people are going to see this video. I've already had a couple of people asking me,
Yeah.
once you get that done, I want to do my bike.
Yeah,
I'm like, all right.
absolutely.
All right, so I put my 5 screws in. I got 2 on the top, 3 on the bottom, and the speaker connectors right here.
Yep.
We're all set, right?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so I guess we will go ahead and set the radio back in for now. So if you want to do that, and I've got the 5 oscillator bushings here and the 4 screws that hold the radio down, or 4 bolts.
That is absolutely amazing. So if this were a typical car radio, you were telling me there would be like vent holes for heat.
Yeah, Yeah, there would be holes to let air flow through. Now, because the entire chassis is aluminum, normally you would put an aluminum heat sink somewhere on the radio to carry heat away. The entire radio is a heat sink.
Okay.
So it does a really good job of cooling. And that is the way Harley designed their radio.
Okay.
And I was glad to see that that's also how this radio is designed.
Now, we're just going to leave this guy hanging out there?
We'll bring it up over to the side, and we'll plug it in later to the radio harness. Just kind of push it down where it goes.
All right, so what are we doing now?
All right, so we have these 4 oscillator bushings and 4 bolts. So we'll just put one of those on each bolt, and then you'll press it down with the Allen clamp. Oh,
Thanks, sir.
those bushings are pretty tight, so we just start them on the bolt and then push it down with the
Okay, so these, so we're going to slide each one onto the screw?
One on each bolt. Okay. And then they fit the whole size perfectly on the radio as well. The radio goes in one place. There's no adjustment forward or backwards. And that's why I mentioned that about any gaps in the radio that you see were there originally, because there is no adjustment to this.
Okay.
Now yours looks like it's going to be pretty tight, but on the Street Glide specifically, we see a lot more gaps around the radio because of the fairing design. Warps a little more.
So are you saying that the Road Glide is better than the Street Glide? Because that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing a little bit of Road Glide love.
I did not say that, but I do prefer to work on the Road Glides.
Because the Road Glide's better?
Because it's easier. No, I see so many beautiful bikes. I'm in love with them all the time.
Well, the funny thing is I have a Street Glide now, so I got the
yeah.
Street Glide and the Road Glide. All right, so we're gonna. So I got the.
Yep.
Getting them all the way down.
So, just stick each one in the bolt, and you should be able to just push down.
Oh, it's just gonna push down.
It doesn't really thread down yet.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Yeah, push down a little bit of pressure, and it'll line that right up.
And tell me again, so the isolator, what's the purpose of that? What does that do?
It does center the bolt in the hole.
Okay.
But it also, we have an aluminum chassis, we have a stainless bolt. And when you have two opposing metals like that, they create like an oxidation. There's a reaction that happens between those two metals. You know, Harley does this from the factory. If you look at your original radio, and Soundstream has done it as well in theirs.
So this is definitely a step we don't want to skip.
Well, you know, it's one of those things I'm not sure what the repercussions are, but I just go ahead and do it the way that I was told to do it.
Gotcha, I understand.
I hope it's the right way.
We also know not to put our hand in fire for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, is this the part where we're going to pull out the MIG welder and we're going to weld something here? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
No. No, this is so simple. I think that, you know, just basic. We've seen a 3/16 Allen head, a T25 torque screwdriver, and a 13 millimeter wrench. It's pretty much, you know, unless you've changed the hardware around the windshield, like in your case, 3 or 4 hand tools can do this entire job.
Well, so far so good. I'm enjoying it.
So radio's bolted in.
All right.
So we'll just continue with the radio. Why not? We're going to do the backbone here in a minute. But
okay.
So this is the T-harness that comes shipped with the radio. It's very nice because it uses the factory Harley connectors. If you were not doing the amp, you would simply plug in the factory Harley plug on this end.
Okay.
This would plug into the radio, and you'd tuck that wiring up. Now, in this case, we're adding our amplifier, which has an additional set of these. So we're going to have a total of 2 harnesses. Now, if you buy it from Volunteer Audio, we do things a little differently. We always try to take an extra step to make the process smooth and enjoyable, because if you get frustrated at home, you're not going to be happy with me.
Right.
So we pre-install the thumb control module. So this module is normally sold separate. You would have to install it.
Okay.
If you don't have it pre-plugged in when you connect power to it, it doesn't learn itself as the right thumb control configuration, and now you're having to reset battery cables. It's just aggravation after a tech call to me that I have to tell you to do. So we make sure that's plugged in ahead of time.
Okay.
So also on this harness, it's going to come from us plugged in with our thumb control module. It also has that connector we needed for our amp turn on.
Gotcha.
So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and plug this one in
so this
next.
One's on the radio, right?
It's going to plug in just like the factory connector did. So it's going to go in and then that's going to turn. Yep. Okay. Very, very simple. Now, one other thing to keep in mind is This is our thumb control module. This makes the radio turn on.
Okay.
This makes our thumb controls work properly.
Okay.
And if water gets in this, it's going to act up till it dries out. This
Okay.
is not water sealed like the radio. Now, we
Okay.
don't expect a lot of water in the fairing, but we normally try to mount this in a higher location because if you were to just hang it down, then water, if it does get in
Okay.
here, is just going to follow the wiring into it.
Gotcha.
So when we get to that point, I just want to take a second and mention that we want to make sure that it's in a position that it's not hanging low, it's not going to fill full of water.
Okay. So this one.
All right. Not yet. So
Not yet.
like
Okay.
without an amp, that would be the next step.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to look inside. You're going to see you have some larger terminals on one side. We're going to line those up properly. And we're going to now connect our amp connector in.
Oh,
And
that's
then this connector plugs into the original connector. So we have a couple steps here. The good thing is on a Road Glide, hear me talking about Road Glides again and the good things, right?
Road Glides are better.
There's a lot of room underneath where this amplifier is behind the headlight. So all this seemingly large amount of wiring that we have can actually be positioned up in here behind the headlight and can be zip tied and secured in here cleanly and then the headlight reinstalled.
okay. Gotcha.
So we've got a lot of room. So even though it looks like there's a lot of wiring here, there's a lot of area to put it. So we'll clean that up toward the end.
Okay.
We do have a few more things to connect. So let's go ahead and connect your FM antenna and make sure we plug in our USB back on the back of the radio.
Okay.
What did we get routed around?
There we go. I got it.
Yep, that points downward and it goes in this one over here.
Oh, that one.
Yep. And now our USB, which is over here somewhere. Let's try to find it. It has snuck its way into this mess. So that is going to plug, and the clip on it points upward. So let's take a second to talk about this USB. This is a very proprietary USB connection. It's only available at Harley.
Okay.
So if you were one of the many, many people that had already replaced this radio with, say, a Sony radio, because that happened a lot before the Soundstream came out, a lot of times they removed the factory USB, and they put in a new USB with just a USB-A connection. This is available at our website. If you don't have it, we do stock them. They're very difficult to find at Harley dealers. And Road Glide and Street Glide are different links.
Okay.
So we have both of them available at volunteeraudio.com if needed. But if you've already got it in there, it just plugs right back in.
Gotcha.
The other scenario is maybe you bought a police bike or an Electric Glide Standard. A lot of times they don't have a USB, so you would need to get one for those as well.
Okay.
All right, so let's move to our backbone. Let's get it just kind of sealed up and then connected, and we'll get our gas tank back on. So now over here,
Now where are we going to be working now?
we're going to work in here. So what I want you to do, and what we normally do, is we just kind of push these wires to one side so that we can get this down in here. And then a lot of times I'll take a zip tie and actually run around here or there. You don't have to do that because really it's all going to be contained. But we've got to get both of these connections ran in here and that top snap back on.
Okay.
And then this is going to connect to the battery. This we're just going to leave under here until we do our rear wiring.
Okay.
So we'll get set up for us to do that. So a lot of times it might help just to start the front of it and work your way
Oh,
backwards.
way down.
with it.
Okay.
So our front is started. Now you may see, maybe you got a wire that tries to come up and over the side to make sure you push it back in place. Because if it's not where it's supposed to go, it's going to get pinched. There's a wire here right on the side. I just want to push it over a little. You got some tape there, you're going to pull it out. Sometimes, say, it's helpful if you move some of the factory wires over just a little bit to make room for the new wire to fall in. Because if they're just stacked right on top of each other, they're going to take up a lot of room.
There we go. And
All
the
right, so we're
magic
gonna
piece
put-
you said that we
yeah,
had to
we're
put
gonna
back.
slide the ABS lines back where they go, or brake
Okay.
lines, so that they're where they need to be. And then there's also Well, this little
That guy.
plastic piece there
And jog my memory, I don't remember.
just goes right here.
Okay.
All right, so at this point, we can put the gas tank back on.
Oh.
All right, so as you pull those bolts down, it's going to pull that down.
Okay. All right.
All right, so we'll go ahead and put the 4 in that go to the tanks. Leave the 2 battery tray ones out for now. It's a little hard to get on straight.
Yeah,
Would an
that one's
extension
tough.
help a little bit?
Yeah, an extension would help a little bit.
Let's see here. Is that one too long?
I don't know, we'll see. No, much better. Okay, I think that's good.
So your bike's leaning a little bit. You're worrying me, so I'm going to straighten it back up here.
Okay. All right.
All right, so there's not really any reason yet to connect these. We'll wait till after we pull the battery tray up.
Okay.
Because we're going to have to get down to the battery next and connect these. And I don't care what order you do it, but we've got to connect the fuel line, and you got a couple of covers to go over the front bolt. There you go. So you lift the little sleeve up, and then once you push up, it'll fall back down into place and locks it in.
Gotcha.
At the same time, it makes a good connection. Every now and then you see one that'll leak afterwards, but Harley does sell a rebuild kit to put new O-rings in that if
Okay.
it does. You're going to unclip the computer,
Okay.
and set it over to the side, undo the electrical connectors, and get this battery tray. It slides forward and comes out.
Okay.
So that you can make your positive connection and negative connections on the battery.
Okay.
And then these will kind of tuck just up in front of here once you're done.
Gotcha. Wait a minute. So you said we're gonna.
Yeah, what we're going to do is, a lot of times we'll unclip the computer first.
Oh, okay.
So it just clips out of the way. Next to that, you've got to undo the additional electrical connectors off of this so we can get it out enough to get to our battery connections.
Okay.
So the way the little battery tray cover works is it slides forward and comes off of a little metal hook, and then it lifts up.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Normally it's a big Phillips screwdriver. Let me give you a number 1 Phillips, because that's going to be better.
All right.
So the red is going to go to the positive, the black goes to the negative.
Gotcha. Does it matter what order we go? Does it matter what order we go in?
No, it does not.
Okay.
Now you're going to want to point your wire toward the gas tank, toward the front, so that when your cover will go back on correctly.
This way?
No, the other way.
Oh,
just like the factory connections are pointed. If you don't, you'll have a hard time getting that battery tray back on.
oh, I see.
Now, if you have a CVO or something with a security system on it, as soon as you disconnect those cables, it starts screaming at you a high-pitched tone. So you got to have your key nearby to hit the unlock button or cycle the ignition to get your alarm off. Most of these vents are there so that it'll take fuel easier and less likely to vapor lock as it's draining. So.
Okay.
All right, so everything is back where it was. The only thing we have now under the seat is our rear saddlebag, what we call backbone connector. If you didn't have a factory Tourpack, and you were adding Tourpack speakers or adding lid speakers, this is the connection we plug into.
Okay.
Now this one already has a Tourpack, and you'll notice we're using a very similar connector to the factory style connectors that the Tourpack's doing too, so it all looks very factory.
Okay. We're going to reuse these screws?
No, we're not going to reuse these screws, and we're not going to reuse the grommets that are underneath it either. So we'll go over that here in a second when you get it off, the way that works. And we've got new grills, and I think the new grills look a lot better than the factory grills, especially if they get a little age on the old ones. There you go. Make it a lot easier.
Now, if I'm a betting man, our new speaker's going to have a much better,
Oh,
bigger
yeah.
magnet.
So we're going to do the same speaker we did in the front.
Okay.
So we're going to have the same connections. But here's something I do want to take a second and talk about. So you'll notice what the original screws went into. It's just a little piece of rubber, and it's threaded on the backside. And as the bolt tightens into it, it pulls it forward, and it just kind of swells it in place.
Okay.
Now, we've all heard of somebody losing a bag going down the road from the little quarter turns it used to be in. I have had many people comment and reach out to me that they've lost one of these speakers due to this way of adhering it. So you got to be real careful when you put these in to make sure that they're tight, but even then they tend to pull out from the new speaker. New speaker's got more bass, there's more vibration, so we don't want that to happen. So we generally remove these. You can even leave them in place. What we're going to end up doing though is we're going to take our speaker and we're going to clock it slightly one way or the other past it, and we're going to go with our screws straight into this plastic.
Okay.
And I've never seen a speaker come out that way. I mean, don't strip it out.
Right,
you know?
right.
We'll use a drill for that because we are going to go into it, but it is thick enough plastic that there's no need to put a clip behind it.
Gotcha.
All right. Another thing to take into account when we put our speakers in are there's some bolts. On this side, there's some controls. And you'll probably see that if you rotate the speaker a certain way, you'll clear those with the speaker terminals.
Gotcha.
So it'll fit better. Let's get our new speakers out, and we'll make another comparison of that and look at our grills for them.
So this is the original grill that's got some wear and tear on it from my luggage from when I travel. And this is our new grill. So this looks a lot nicer and cleaner. I like the look, and it also matches the grill that's going to go on the front. And it's got the Precision Power logo on there.
And then here we are back to our speaker. And as you'll see, like I was talking about, your terminals here, if you'll rotate those, you'll get to a point where they're not in the way of something in the bag. But these are a drop-in fit, meaning there's no modification going to happen to make them fit because of that neodymium magnet. But such a bigger magnet, such a bigger speaker. Even the front of the speaker is a true 6.5 instead of a 5 1/4. So we're going to get a lot better sound out of it than the old ones. And they're going to hopefully last a much, much longer time.
Okay.
So we'll So the way the grill works, you pop the front out, and the speaker goes into the grill.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that we line this up as we go in, or we're going to be doing this twice. I do a lot of things twice, so try to limit that. And let me pull some screws out of here as far as hardware.
I reconnected the speaker terminals, and they only fit in one way. There's a larger and a smaller one. You just connect those and make sure they're tight, not going to come off. Now, since we're going to just screw these in, we'll just kind of set it in, right?
Yeah, set it in, but we're going to make sure that we don't line up where our old screw holes were.
Okay.
All right, that's going to be kind of the only key.
All right.
I'll kind of make you some room here, get out of the way. Speaker did not quite pull in like I thought it should. So let's back it out real quick and let me rotate it and just make sure that we're in the right position. Always be careful. These are very easy to poke a hole in.
Okay.
Especially with a power tool. I think we needed to move just a little bit this way. There we go. Now let's put our screws back in. Yeah, actually, we're only going to do 4. So we're going to do,
okay.
We'll go all the way across and do that one next. Pull it in a little further because it tried to pull us out again, but if you'll give it some more, it'll pull it right on in.
Okay.
There you go. Now you should be able to just put the other 2 in where they go.
So we have our two speaker terminals, and one's larger than the other, so it would be impossible. It would be entertaining, I think, to see it done wrong. Okay. And all I'm doing there is holes all around I guess the edge of the speaker, and I just have to line it up with the holes in the
grill
frame. The grill frame.
There you go. Put one in for you. So we lined up, I think, perfect with one of those old holes.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, so clock it. No, maybe not. What did we do? We went into something that wasn't solid. There we go. I'll put one more. Now, if you want to put 2 more in. Hate to take all your joy.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Check those with a screwdriver as well.
There we go.
All right, so we're going to close this back. What do you think about the look?
I don't like it. Let's just take it all off.
Put it back stock. Yeah.
This looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks much better. You can actually see there's a speaker there now.
Yeah, actually I like that. I like that you can see the structure of the speaker.
Yeah. Well, you wanted to hide that structure. Nobody wanted to see that. So Harley made sure you
that looks good.
All right, so the next step is probably the scariest part. We're going to have you cut your bags up.
Nice. Time for the blowtorch, right?
Yeah. Let's get the blowtorch out and melt the plastic back together after we cut it wrong. Let's get a few parts out and we'll kind of talk about it real quick. So this is neat because it comes with a template, if you would hold that template. And that's going to fit the top of our bag just perfect. Then there's going to be two parts. So after we've put this template on and we cut and trace out this hole with our saw, from the underside, this is going to fit that hole perfectly. Actually, there's the front of it. And then there's a grill that matches the grills that we've just put everywhere else. That screws right on top of that hole.
Gotcha.
So 4 screws, and in this particular company, the Precision Power ones have a really nice thick gasket.
Okay.
So once this seals, it's very watertight. And then we've got a 6x9 that's going to seal right to this gasket.
Gotcha.
So if it does rain, water's going to get on the speaker, not into the bag. We're going to flip our lid up, dump our water out, and go back to everywhere this is going to sit. Okay. Not that this would scratch it, but the vibration of the saw on this could. Okay. So we're going to tape all of this area up and then set our template on. You don't have to remove the latch. We do want to check in our bag, make sure we don't have anything in there that we would cut as we cut through. So we may want to get a few things out. This will be the correct one. Like I say, first step is going to be
all right, so we're going to tape everywhere that, so just this outer part here. All right.
Well, we're going to tape the whole middle where it sits because we don't want this to vibrate and scratch the paint.
All right.
Yeah, basically the entire lid. The entire front half of the lid is going to get taped up. Okay. And if your dad was in the body shop business, you know how to put some masking tape around on things.
No, it's been a long time. I don't know how far I need to go. Back
back up to there, yep. So we just go ahead, normally I'll just go ahead and do that whole area. Just all the way up through here too. So you're gonna take your template, you're gonna set it on top, and you're gonna push it around till you make sure it's exactly where it couldn't fit anywhere else.
Let's see something. I want to put a little bit of tape right there.
Piece there. All right, so we're gonna push around, we're gonna fill. You'll see it just fits a certain place. Okay. Once it's there, hold it in place for me. We're gonna put a screw in here. I'm gonna put one more in here. Now it can't move anywure. We don't have to worry about it shifting while we're doing this.
So this is going to be kind of cool. I've always wanted to drill a hole in my bike. We're going to do it.
So with this particular template, now there are a bunch of companies that do this. Rockford Fosgate has a similar kit. Boss Audio, Aquatic AV. So many different companies make a kit similar. But what we like about the Precision Power one is that if you cut the outside edge of this template, so stay within your lines, but just be on the outside edge, it fits perfect. Some of the other ones, if you cut on the outside, it's pretty loose.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you try to be conservative and cut the inside edge, and if you do that, it's not going to fit. You're going to have to cut some more off. But what we're going to do is we want to drill a starter hole here and drill another starter hole somewhere over in here, so that you're going to do part of your cut, but when you get to these sharp corners, instead of trying to curve, you're just going to kind of end it.
Oh, okay.
That way that you don't have to worry about trying to make the turn with your cutter. Whoa, put a hole in it.
Oh. It's over here somewhere too. Yeah. See, I'm right-handed, and it's.
Well, you cut just any other ones over there.
Either one, huh?
Yep.
Trying to figure if there was one that'd be easier than the other. Yes.
All right.
All right.
So now it's going to be a little tricky because you got your Tourpack in place. But you are going to drop this into the hole, and you're going to cut all the way down to this corner, and then you're going to want to cut back this way too, which a lot of times I can just bring it out. And
so we're going to cut through. We're going to cut through.
You're going to cut through each one of these places into the next line.
Okay.
Now, you know, obviously at the end, you're going to cut through the last one. So I normally come up to one of those and then finish through so that it's not all loose from each other.
Okay.
Just stay within the lines.
Stay within the lines. Oh, this is going to be awkward.
So you're going this direction. We're not going to make that turn because it's going to be a difficult turn to make with a saw blade.
Okay.
So now you're going to go back this way. This curve's a lot easier to make. And so you come up to this, so you'll have to just kind of tilt back a little bit with your saw as you cut around through.
What do you mean?
So you don't want to rub into this and mess up your cloth. And we can't really remove the Tourpack on this one easily. So as you continue to cut, just kind of lean backwards and you should be able to work around without hitting the bag.
Got it.
Yeah. So anytime that we don't have this in the way, and I know it is still some, we want to be as flat as we can with this on so we can keep the same angle with our cut.
Okay.
So if you go over, drop flat with it. That's going to keep you from cutting into anything you don't need to cut into.
Okay. Let's see the light. Or
Yeah.
so still trying to make the turn?
No, at this point you can drop into your other hole and go back to there.
Oh, I see.
And then come back this way.
Okay.
Yep. As you see, if you continue to go though, once you cut here, you're not going to have anything kind of holding the template in place. So you're going to kind of have to freehand this without messing up.
Okay.
So I just want you to keep in mind on this because I'm going to hold it where it doesn't move.
Okay.
But people at home may not have somebody help them hold it for them.
Voila. Nice. Okay.
Pretty cool, huh?
So
Not
far.
too bad. Not too bad. See, I'm going to take those screws out of that, and then the other part's trash. We'll reuse those 2 screws. It only comes with 2. So.
All right.
You did pretty good there.
Oh, thanks.
First time. Made it look good. All right.
All right, so I'll say that having done this for the first time, it is a little difficult to see, so you might want to have a light, because I've got help today, but if I were doing this by myself, I would have a separate light set up here so that you can kind of see where the blade is going, because it's, having never done it before, it's a little bit unnerving cutting into your saddlebag cover, because you only get one shot to do this. If you screw it up, you're screwed, right?
Yeah, well,
but there's a template. There's a template. It wasn't hard, it wasn't that bad. I will admit, it was a little unnerving, but just, like I said, stay inside the lines, and the light is important, because once we put the light on it, that really helped.
All right, so I'm going to vacuum off the debris that we have around it. Then we're going to test fit it.
Okay.
And as long as it test fits good, then we'll pull the tape. But if it doesn't, we may have to do just
Trim
a little bit of trimming here or there. So.
Okay.
So what we're going to be test fitting is the outside portion of the grip.
Okay.
So you can take this, drop it in where it's supposed to go. and see if everything fits as you expect it to from the underside. Now you actually cut it just a little small.
Oh, I'd rather be small than big.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of it is really in the corners here. So what I'll do in that case is a lot of times I'll set the template you cut back down.
Okay.
So let me grab that part. Set the template back where it went and see if I see anything that didn't get done. Now, so the part I saw was this little front corner here. Kind of see that area?
Okay.
And it was more about just probably the angle of the tool. Everything else looks to be pretty good. So there's a little bit here. I'm just going to mark that so we can just kind of shave that little bit of blue off and that little bit of blue off, and then it will fit perfect.
Gotcha.
Saw us sitting in a seat.
Right in my face.
Yeah, come around this side and don't let the base of the saw touch the bag in this case. You don't have a template in between you.
All right.
And I think part of this was just because we were trying to get around this.
Oh,
Just
sure.
to just continue on across through there, because that was where that. Yeah, there's actually material under there. I was making sure this wasn't a piece of tape. That's good enough.
Yeah.
If you'll get that little spot there. Good deal. I think it's going to fit perfect now. So let's take it and drop it on there. Oh yeah, perfect now.
Good?
Yeah, I think it's going to fit just nice. So now we're going to untape it
All right.
and we'll assemble these parts. Okay. Good thing is, even though this looks a little bit rough, it doesn't really matter because once this is on it,
Cover
none
it
of
all
that's
up, huh?
visible.
Gotcha.
So everything looks good then. I think that scratch was already there. It couldn't
Yeah,
have
that
been
one
from
I
this.
call, actually, I don't have a name for that one yet.
Okay, but
I
it
gotta
was
come up with a name for
there.
that one.
Yeah, we should not have created any new
No,
ones in this
that's fine.
process. So the next step is this goes underneath. That goes on top, and we put 4 Phillips screws in. One there, one here, and one here that hold all of this together. So always drop this side in first, and then drop it in. So put a screw in there. Always try to start all of them first. Let you have the screwdriver. I can't see it from here. Started.
The other one is,
Our light is all on the wrong side of us, isn't it?
You guys want me to scoot this big one around? Okay, good.
I didn't start that last one there. So once they all get started, then I just make sure that it seems to line up properly before we tighten it down. I don't want anything that could possibly crack. This is a bunch of plastic, so
So this isn't like one where you had to glue and stuff before, is it?
No, we're not going to glue these or silicone these because this one has a really nice gasket all the way around that really should be watertight without it. Let's loosen that one a little bit. And then loosen this one a little bit. Not a tremendous amount, but this will slide forward just a little bit and make this fit better. I can see it better from that side.
What are you feeling for? Oh,
I'm wanting to see if this is pulled all the way down without the screw there. See, I just pushed it and went. I want it all the way down when you tighten that screw on this corner. So go ahead and tighten that one down. All right. Now you might go cat a corner and go and get that one. As you see there, we have a good looking grill anyways. Next we'll be putting a speaker underneath it.
oh, I remember that one now. That one I call U-Haul.
U-Haul?
I had one of those U-Haul trucks. It was literally the first time I strapped my bike down, and I did something wrong, and it kind of fell over into the U-Haul trailer. That's where that came from. That one's called U-Haul. All right, now we're gonna.
Well, if you name it based off the place.
Okay, each one has a name.
Let me see that tape. We'll start back with this on the tape.
Okay.
Just save us a couple seconds so we don't have to necessarily video the tape job. Yeah, normally you're going to see that this part sits right down here on the front, but then we're pushing back to it lines up with that body line.
Okay, now there's 2 holes in the top, and so we're going to put screws in here to hold the template in place. Oh, I did not check to see if there's anything in there.
We can still do that.
Oh, I'm good.
Right, so we're going to drill the starter holes. When we do that, I'll just go. I like drilling holes in people's bikes. I want to drill it for you. Let's drill one here, and we'll drill one down here as well. All right. So again, on this particular template, there's many brands of templates out there, and I'm not going to tell you this works on every other brand. But the Precision Power template, if you will cut the very outside edge, so let your blade just follow that outside edge all the way around, you won't do any trimming at the end, and it'll just fit.
Okay.
Whereas several of the other brands, if you cut the outside edge, you've got slop in that grill.
Okay, you don't want
the
that.
more
Okay.
surface area we have, the stronger it is, and the less likely we get water in.
Now, this template comes with the speaker kit.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So our kit that comes with the 6x9s, so it's really nice. If you go to our website, volunteeraudio.com, and you go to the motorcycle section, we actually have a part there that says build your own custom Volunteer Audio stage kit. If you click that banner, it's then going to ask you if you want a 2-speaker, 4-speaker, 6-speaker system. And you can select your amps, select your speakers, and we make sure that everything you need to do that happens. So when you get down to rear 6x9s and you select it, it adds the cut kits, it adds the harnessing, everything's pre-done. And then when you make that purchase, we know exactly what you're doing,
Okay.
and we can tune everything about the amp to that perfectly.
Gotcha.
So you can select with or without the radio, you can select if you need a tool to flash the radio. So everything you would need to make this a complete kit is all customizable right there. Very
Excellent.
simple to do. And then we also have a lot of kits that are just pre-packaged and put together. But I really like the builder. I think it's cool because you can make it exactly what you want it to be.
Okay.
So I've cut, we've already got our 2 drilled holes. You've already done this on the other side?
Yep.
Here you go.
All right.
The lighting's a little better on this side.
All right.
I'm still going to get a light and hold for you just.
All right, so we got our 2 pre-drilled holes. There's a track, and I did the other side, and I'm going to feel a lot more comfortable doing this one, but it's, you know, when you can see it makes it a little bit better.
We try to get where I can light it up for you.
see where I'm cutting.
Let me move out of your way.
You say make the turn and keep going?
Nope.
Nope.
That's one of
Okay.
the ones we stop and we go back the other way. You could do that, but it's just easier to
Okay.
go the other way. I think you're within it. We're good.
All right.
And you might start back in here and just go just a little bit closer to that edge.
Okay.
Which, if you want, I would say drop your saw on this way, back it back up, and then just come forward right on that edge. Is our battery coming down? Or? Hold on. There. Sorry. Button right. Push. Now we'll drop in. Well, you got to go a little bit forward. All right, he's all the way down to the bottom. All right. Now you can drop in here and go back to each location. I'm actually going to try to swap sides with you. Yeah, if you're going that way. A little bit off in this corner. Let me see this for a second. Hold this light on. We're just going to make sure we don't lose it. All right, I'll let you continue.
All right.
All right, so what's really good is we give you a very small area to cut, and we give you about a 1/2 inch flange to go around it. So if you're off just a little, it really doesn't matter. All right, so I'm going to vacuum up our mess, and we'll recheck our fitment. See our part. Fits great. First time that time. Should fit no problem. All right, so when you get done, you're going to look at this and you're going to go, I'm a little off here. It's not exactly perfectly straight. That huge flange covers all of that, and don't be scared to do this, because if you're off a little, it's not ruined. It's perfectly fine. Nobody can see how perfect your cut is underneath this flange.
Let me see this.
Yep.
All right, so yeah, it's rubber, and so that's what's going to help keep our water out of there, right?
Yep, that big gasket. Plus, there's a gasket on the bottom portion that goes together. So there's a gasket here and a gasket there.
Got it.
So, here's your underside. Should drop it in where it goes. Here are your 4 screws. Here's a screwdriver. so let's check it out. Make sure everything looks like it pulled down tight. Looks like it does. Feels like it does. So we've got a good grill install. There's some technology in these speakers that are in no other brand. They're actually patented, and they've answered some problems that some other manufacturers actually had without running into those problems on their own. So this speaker is going to look quite a bit different than our other speakers. If you notice, the tweeter actually protrudes out quite a bit, but look how flat the back of it is.
Right.
So this is normally where your magnet would go.
Okay.
There's no magnet here.
Huh.
The magnet has been moved, it's neodymium magnet, around the tweeter pole piece, and then it's got an aluminum heat sink. So as you're driving down the road and the wind is traveling over that grill, it's cooling the hottest part of the speaker.
Oh, okay.
So this speaker is going to take more abuse. It's going to last longer. The voice coil is being cooled. Plus, we saved a lot of room in the bag at the same time. So very, very cool design. Nobody else has this. This is a patented design, and this is going to be the same on the 6x9 or the 5x7. Okay. 6.5s really don't have as much problem. They got more room to breathe, and they don't generally get as hot. One of the other manufacturers, and I'll say who they are, it's Rockford Fosgate, they had an issue where the magnet would get so hot it would melt the back of the speaker.
Oh, wow.
It would also damage clothing or articles, jackets, things that were inside your bag.
Touching it, yeah.
So, as you saw earlier, I showed you on that boom audio lid how it had that shell under it. That was to protect the belongings from the heat of the speaker.
Okay.
This has actually been moved to the outside, so there's no risk of that happening.
Okay.
It also is going to fit perfectly on our cut cap. See there?
Okay.
And see how little bit of room this is taking up.
Right.
So here you go. I'm going to get you a screwdriver and some screws.
Right.
We'll get you to mount it in there.
Let's do it.
And we're going to go and do just like you're doing. We're going to move the terminals are going to point toward this cloth.
Okay.
So that as our wire comes up,
Gotcha.
it's toward the middle of the bag. Did that go into a hole?
No, I missed the hole there. Hold on a second. This is...
See if I can help you get it started. I wonder if the gasket's moving.
Yeah, the gasket's in the way.
Yeah, so just try
There
to
we go.
push through that gasket though.
Yeah, I got it that time.
Yeah. It starts this back one. Once it's in, the other two should pretty well be lined up. So this speaker is designed for this cut kit, but we also sell the cut kit by itself. So if you had a different brand of speaker and you're just looking for a way to install it, you can also buy them individually, or actually in a pair without the speakers too. And it comes down to being able to see, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
You get a lot for you.
Okay, I can see where it is. I was off.
I think you're right on it. That cloth gets in the way just a little bit there.
I keep missing it.
I wonder if the gasket's
Oh, yeah, it's actually at an angle. Maybe I need to loosen these up, but
okay, there you go. It moved enough.
they move enough. Okay.
Yeah, and most things, if you tighten one, it always ends up getting loosened later. Interesting. It seems like you're right on it.
Oh, Jesus. One screw. What is that?
one screw.
One little screw.
This is the part that takes down all men, right here. That last screw.
Let's see. Okay. I'm determined to not have this one screw beat me.
Okay. I'm not going to take your joy. I know that you're going to feel very satisfied when this one's done.
There we go.
So I'm out here with it like a caveman. I've got a Phillips screwdriver that's not magnetic. So Samantha down, she's always putting screws in these amp plates and such. She ordered magnetic tipped screwdrivers, so she's a couple steps ahead of me in the tool department. They are Milwaukee though, so she copied me. All right. So let's see if we can do this a little smoother on the other side. How about that? So for all of you people at home that are wondering, how much does he charge to use his tools and to talk you through the install? We have two labor rates. We have the one where we do it, and then we have the one where you help. And the one where you help is a little more.
All right, now let's see if this one's going to be nice to me.
It looks. I'm looking right at the hole, so hopefully you can see it too.
I can't.
You got it.
Holy crap, the first try.
Look how easy.
Look at that. It's almost like I've done this before.
So these speakers are only 2 1/4 inches deep. So from the back side of the cut kit, they hang down just a little over 2 inches. It's very, very little room in the bag.
Okay. Good stuff.
All right, so we are almost there. All we've got left is we're going to run some wiring into the bags for these speakers, plug that in here, then we can put our seat back on. We'll test that everything is set right and works right, and we'll put our fairing on. I mean, we're at the home run now. It's at the very, very end.
Let's make it happen.
Home stretch. All right, so Q's done a great job. He's got our lid cut kit installed, speakers installed. Next part is we just have to run the wiring into the bag. So I wanted to show you where we would normally do this. Right at the front of the bag, so this is the front edge closer to the seat, between the latch mechanism part where it latches and between where it secures into the bike. If you'll come right between those and put a hole, and we're going to send you a drill bit to do it. How about you drill right there for me?
Right there. All right.
Yeah, we're going to drill us a hole. I think I gave you my bad drill. Milwaukee, I need a new drill. I've got one that's got a catch in it. Sometimes it doesn't work right. There you go.
Right out.
I've always got a backup. All right.
Man, I am just cutting my bike to shreds here.
Yep. So we're going to send you this. This is a pre-wired quick disconnect for your bag. You're going to feed the wires into the bag. That's going to go to the speaker later. I'm going to push this on in, and you're going to see there's a pre-installed grommet. So we're going to feed that grommet into the hole. That was a 16 millimeter bit. I think we're going to have to go up to the next step on our unibit to make this a little bit easier to put in. Let me grab that for us. All right, so as I was going to say, I've done this a couple hundred times, and I have marked one of these unibits in a red line. That is where we want to go, if you can see that red. So it's just one more step.
I do not.
So the next step here is going to be drilled in. So I'll go and do it because I don't want you to end up doing it the wrong way. There is. I think I've destroyed all my drills. Really strange. These bags are pretty thick, so normally I'm going to open it up. I'm going to go back from the inside and do the same thing again. All right, now our grommet will fit.
Now the bit that we just used.
That was a unibit.
Okay.
And that size hole, this is an older one, so it's kind of hard to read. I think it's 3/4. It does appear to be the 3/4 step.
Okay.
So
that one will have to, I got to go buy my own.
You need your own 3/4 inch or a unibit to go up that next step. And I just do that because you could force the other one in, but every time I force it into the smaller hole, I have a hard time not ripping the grommet.
Okay.
And I don't want to rip the grommet up because that's what's keeping water out of All right, so the next step, we've got everything pretty much back together except for the fairing. And before we put our headlight in, we need to do something with all the wiring we have from behind the radio. So one of the first things we can do is we can bring our wiring around the top of the amp. We want to keep our thumb control module up here high because, like I said earlier, we don't want water to get in it and we don't want it hanging where water would run into it. The other wiring that we have here can tuck in behind where the headlight would go. And there's quite a bit of room on a Road Glide. You can take that as I like Road Glides better or not. But there's a lot of room behind the headlight for wiring, which is really handy when you're trying to find somewhere to put all of it. So far I haven't even used a zip tie yet. All I've done is position wiring in a better location. But I'm going to take and actually secure the wiring that I've done up in under here to factory harnessing. So you've got the factory harness that runs down both sides to the backbone of the bike. I'm just going to zip tie to those. Keep in mind this is our headlight connector, so we want to keep it where we have access to it. So zip ties are your best friend in this case because they're going to allow you to get all this out of your way so you don't fight so much with the headlight. Because after you've got an amp in, the headlight's not quite as easy to go in. It's not really hard, but if you get the wiring out of the way, it goes in like it did originally. We've got a CV antenna there. I'm just going to push it kind of back up out of the way. I think that's where it was to begin with. And we got to keep in mind that on this side there is a mounting hole where the headlight would have went. So I'm going to try to get this wire between my amp and that up toward the top. See if it will fish up through there. May not be able to do that. If not, we'll just leave it on top of the headlight. All right, I believe I've got that wire up where it's not going to be on our way. You don't want anything pulled so tight that it's going to try to unplug from the amp, so I'm going to make sure there's a little bit of extra room on those wires. Originally, these connectors were already on top of the headlight, so we're going to leave them up here. And let's go and put the headlight back in. Now, you've got some extra wires. We'll feed those up to the top. So you'll notice the outside of your headlight has some little guide pins. They line up with these vents to put those back in the correct place. Looks like we're getting pretty close to where we're supposed to be. Start our bottom bolt. Do the one on the other side. So if your headlight doesn't go back in, you've probably got a wire in the wrong place. And you've probably got it in between where the headlight bolts and those brackets. But you always want to make sure you take a good look and that you haven't done that, because if you tighten it up, you don't want to pinch those wires and cause a short. I think everything went back in pretty well there. Got all of our wires out of the way. Let's go over all of them again, make sure it went all the way tight. All right, so we want to take our lights. There was a left and a right for that. We're going to run them kind of back up left and right. But I also want to put these original connectors back into the headlight somewhat where they were. So one would have snapped in here. remember, these plug all the way up here. One plugs into this one. The remaining one will plug into the marker light that is built into the, well actually you've got more than that going on. You have...
Yeah, I've got the trim light. One of them plugs up there.
Yeah, one for the trim light and one for the other light.